So this is GCSE Papers Shadow Set 1, Foundation Tier, Paper 2, Thursday 6th of June 2019. Okay, so this time we're going to do question 24. So question 24, ABC is a right angle triangle. ABC, right angle triangle, I can see we've got a length and an angle. Calculate the length of AB, the line AB, and give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so before we actually start doing the maths, we need to work out what we're going to do and what method we're going to use. So we're in the latter part of an exam. It's a right angle triangle. So that should narrow it down to 2 topics, usually. The first 2 things that I would look at, think about when I look at this question are, is it to do with Pythagoras theorem or is it to do with trigonometry and SOHCAHTOA? It's highly likely to be one of those 2 things. So as soon as you see the right angle triangle and you've got to find something out about it, it's going to be Pythagoras or trigonometry, almost certainly. So the way you then decide between is it Pythagoras or is it trigonometry is what's it asking you to find and what information have you got. Okay, Pythagoras has nothing to do with angles. Pythagoras is simply about the length of the sides. Because this question has got an angle in, it means we're going to be using trigonometry. So trigonometry involves angles, angles and sides. Pythagoras is just about the sides. So this question is going to be a trigonometry question. It's going to be a SOHCAHTOA question. Okay, now your teacher is likely to have used the trigonometry formula triangles. Okay, so I have very handily pre-drawn my formula triangles. SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so that would be SOHCAHTOA. That's the shorthand version, and that's the probably the more useful version. Sine of the angle, opposite hypotenuse, SO. Cos of the angle, adjacent and hypotenuse, CA. Tan of the angle, opposite and adjacent, I apologise, opposite and adjacent, tan of the angle, TOA. SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Okay? Right. So, what we need to do is decide, are we using this formula triangle? Is it this one? Or is it this one? Is it a sine question? Is it a cos question? Or is it a tan question? Because if you don't get that right, you're not getting any of them marks. So it's really important that you are confident in deciding which one of these to use. And to do that, it's all about labelling the sides of the triangle. Okay, it's really worth taking your time to get these sides labelled appropriately and correctly. And it's all about the position of the angle. Okay, so opposite means opposite the angle in the question. Here's the angle in the question. This side is opposite it. This is my opposite. This one, the longest side, is also pretty easy to label. The longest side is always the hypotenuse. The longest side is always the hypotenuse. And then the only other one is the adjacent. So we've got opposite the angle in the question. We've got the longest side, which is the hypotenuse, and we've got adjacent. Adjacent is another word for sort of next to, and it means it's next to the angle. All right, it's always the one I put on last, though. Opposite the angle in the question, the longest side is the hypotenuse, and the other one is the adjacent. Okay, we've got it labelled up correctly. We've now got to decide, are we using sine, cos, or tan? So let's look at this. We're trying to find the length of AB. That's this side here. We're trying to find this length. That means that this is involved in our question, because that's what we're trying to find. So it's got to be involved in our question. So opposite is involved. We are already given this side here. We're given this 18 centimetres. We're given the hypotenuse. So that is involved in our question because we know what it is. So we're going to use it. This one, we're not trying to find this length. We don't know what this length is. That is irrelevant for this part of this question. Okay, so we know we're dealing with the opposite and the hypotenuse. Okay, so which ones use the opposite and the hypotenuse? It's a sine question, isn't it? Cos is adjacent and hypotenuse. Nope. Tan is opposite and adjacent. Nope. It's a sine question. This is the one that we're using. It's a sine question. Okay. It's a sine question, opposite and hypotenuse. So what we're trying to find is the length of AB, and that is the opposite. That's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the opposite. So using the formula triangles, we would cover it up, and we're left with these. We're left with sine of the angle multiplied by the hypotenuse. When they're next to each other, we're multiplying them together. So we need to do sine of the angle multiplied by the hypotenuse. We need to do sine 38, making sure those brackets are closed, multiplied by the hypotenuse. That will get us the first mark. It feels like we've done a heck of a lot of work to get 1 mark, but we're at the back end of the paper, so you're going to have to do a fair amount of work and a fair amount of high-level maths to get these marks. Okay, but it's not that difficult. Learn the technique, learn the triangles, learn how to label the sides, and these are 2 easy marks. Okay, so we needed to do sine of the angle multiplied by the hypotenuse, and of course you need a calculator to do that. So sine of the angle, making sure that bracket is closed, multiplied by the hypotenuse. That gives us 11.08190656. So 11.08190656. Okay. You should always write down the full calculator display, then round it. Right? Write the whole calculator display and then round it, because although they don't say it, if you write the full display, 99 times out of 100, that'll actually get you the full marks. All right. However, let's guarantee we get the full marks, because it does say round it to 2 decimal places. So to 2 decimal places, I'll put my little dotted line in there. Is the next one 5 or more? No, it isn't. So it stays the same. It's 11.08 centimetres, or 11.08 centimetres. Done.